All right, so welcome everybody to the 2020 Refugee Summit. This year's summit, as we've all, I think many of us have been on calls in the past, or many of you attending have been on previous webinars, is all having to be done remotely because of COVID. So on the Rossi website, as you guys all found, that's the site that you used in order to register for today's event. But all of our previous webinars are recorded and are there for people to be able to utilize for free moving forward. Today's topic is all about employment, and particularly employment during COVID. What has changed, what are the challenges, and we hope to be able to share some information and resources with you today that you can actually take back to your work, whether you do case management directly with employment services, or if you work with families or refugee or formerly refugee or immigrant individuals in your work, to be able to just help serve them better. So I am Stephanie Morris. I'm the director of the Refugee Alliance of Central Iowa. And then we have four incredible panelists that are here today to share their experiences. And I will let them share or introduce themselves. And I'll just kind of go in alphabetical order. Zach, would you be able to introduce yourself and your work with Embark?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Zach Balcha. I'm with Embark. Originally, I'm from Eritrea. I came to the States as a refugee back in 2010, and then I have resettled from Seattle here. And then here, I work as a work-ready navigator supervisor. So what we do at Embark is connect the refugee communities or immigrants and refugees to resources that we have around here. So that way they can have someone who always can be there for them to find the job that they need or the help that they needed.
Thank you very much, Zach. Ines, would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Ines Pechucic, and I came also as a refugee in 1993 as a Bosnian refugee to Chicago. Then after a few years moved to Des Moines, and ever since December of 1995, I work for the Bureau of Refugee Services. Throughout all these years, I had different roles. They're all tied mostly to employment and education. But last 6 years, I'm a refugee specialist and work on employment and education.
Thanks, Ines. And Boaz, would you be able to introduce yourself?
Oh,
Boaz, I think, oh, there you go.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, my name is Boaz Nikingi. I am the executive director for iCoach, which stands for Iowa Congolese Organization and Center for Healing. And we do a little bit of everything. We help refugees and immigrants with employment needs. We help with transportation. We help with translation, housing, advocacy. I mean, you name it. Anything related with refugees and immigrants in Central Iowa, we are helping the people.
Thank you, Boaz. And Daniel, would you be able to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Daniel Wilkinson. I'm the program manager for economic empowerment with Switchboard, which is a national technical assistance program funded by ORR to support refugee resettlement and employment programs around the country. And I'm a former job developer. I was a job developer in Trenton, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for 5 years, from 2010 to 2015. And then I've been at more of a headquarters level the past 5 years, doing supporting economic empowerment programs around the country, and also doing some interesting pilot projects and corporate partnerships here and there, including one that brought me to Iowa, where I worked with JBS, the big meat packer, for a year. And so I was in Des Moines and Ottumwa a little bit, and I picked up this shirt along the way, which says Iowa stands with refugees. So I wear this with pride over here in Baltimore, Maryland. So nice to be here with you guys.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Yeah, that's a great shirt. Thanks for your support and help in Iowa. We really appreciate it. And so just a reminder to everybody that is on the call today, we are going to have a Q&A session after our panelists are done sharing. And so if you have questions, if you could reserve them for that kind of final time period, that would really help us make sure that we get as much of the information that we want to get out today out. So the first question, and we'll just kind of go in the same order of responses then to Zach, if you want to go first, and Enos, and then Boaz and Daniel. The first question that we wanted to talk about, and this is, I think, something that's on the mind of a lot of people that are on this call today, and that is, really, what have you seen to be the biggest change or challenge within employment that you or your clients have faced since the beginning of COVID?
Yeah, if I can go first again. With the employment, specifically directly to that, this year, as we all know, it has been a tough year for all of us. And the fact that everything is changed to online, the fact that most offices are closed and then working from home remotely. And, if you think about refugees and immigrants, they don't have access, or even if they have computers or like smartphones, but they can't access it, the information. So people are saying that we are going paperless, and companies are saying we are going paperless. We are doing this and that. But at the same time, they cannot apply if they really need a job. And because of the far distances, people are staying home, and then there is nowhere for them to go, because all what they know is take the paper, go to some sites or some agencies, especially with Embark. They come to us with their paperwork. We look into it and we help them. And if the companies are sending them information through their computer or through their emails, they can't access it. They have no idea what the companies are saying. Let's say with the COVID, and hey, tomorrow we don't have work, stay home. They have no idea. They go to work, and then they have to go back. Hey, there is someone who is tested positive in your plant. Please stay home. They have no idea. They come and then they get in trouble with their supervisors. So like, hey, you were spreading, they get fired. And once they get fired, everything is connected. Housing, daycare, all is connected. So they have been like really having hard time this time, because everything is changed to online, and the people who don't have education on those backgrounds have been really facing hard times.
Thank you very much, Zach. Enos, did you have what are your thoughts on challenges and changes from COVID?
Yeah, I support pretty much everything that Zach just mentioned. I think I work for the Bureau of Refugee Services, which is a state agency. And before COVID, it was unthinkable to work online from home, which we adjusted, I should say, fairly quickly. We learned it was a process of educating ourselves and the refugees about pandemic and learning all different online tools. I mean, for me, it was fairly easy to learn how to do Zoom call, but for someone who doesn't speak English and doesn't understand how technology works, it's a process. So many people that are sitting here right now in our room, they understand what I'm talking about. It was also very, very important, and a big challenge was making sure that all information in all different languages reaches all the refugees that needed that information. That was one of the big challenges.
Thanks, Enos. Boaz?
I mean, I don't want to repeat what my colleagues said, but for us, the biggest challenge, if I can avoid duplicating what my friend said, is that we've experienced a lot of layoffs. A lot of people were laid off because of their businesses not, being able to, to employ them full time anymore, which we all understand. And so because, a lot of companies reduced their hours, so a lot of the folks that we help were laid off, and some are still laid off and still waiting to get back to work. So that was our biggest challenge that we continue to see even at this point where we are talking today. I know my friends talked about, online applications, which we also had a lot of challenges with that. Most of the folks that we help, they like to go in person and, grab an application and fill it out or bring into our office so we can help them apply for a job. It's not the case at this point where it's not easy to get a paper application these days. So everything is being done electronically. So we had to adjust to that technology piece of, the application process. Other than that, like I said, my colleagues talked about, the other challenges that we are all facing as refugees and immigrants, trying to navigate the American system.
Thank you, Boaz. And Daniel, from
yeah.
a national lens, what have you seen?
Yeah, I think everything that you all are sharing, I think, the shift to remote work and remote services has been probably the biggest disruptor for all of us and for our clients. There's also a few other things that we've seen that my guess is you've experienced as well. Some of it has been, the need to provide different kinds of support and services to clients. For example, maybe doing a lot more of helping people apply for unemployment benefits or some of the COVID specific benefits like CARES Act or different things that, maybe your average employment staff might not have done a lot of previously. Some moral dilemmas, that just even knowing, is it, should I be advising clients to go to work in this situation, or how do I help them, give them information so that they make the best decision about what's safe for them and their family. And then the last thing I just want to mention more recently, which we've done some work on, is the document delays, the delays of Social Security cards and employment authorization cards, and how that presents challenges for getting clients to work sometimes. So we may touch on more of those topics later, but those were the things I wanted to add.
Hey, and Daniel, I wanted to ask you really quick, since you brought it up, I know that you guys just did a webinar specifically on that topic.
We did.
Is that webinar available?
Absolutely.
For people? Okay.
Yep.
We can incorporate that into our notes later then too.
Yeah, and I actually, in the slides that I have, if we have an opportunity to go through those later, I'll touch on the webinar, and I have a link for it as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Yep.
Okay, and so the second question that we had a lot of feedback on was really talking about what are, this landscape, I think, has changed for everyone every 2 to 3 weeks since March. But, here we are in December, and what are we seeing is still, what are the biggest needs for our clients, for our communities, and, how can the community partners that are on this webinar, on this call today, how can everyone, be better supportive of communities? So yeah, what do you see as the biggest need still, and how can people help? Zach, would you want to go first again?
Sure. So as Daniel mentioned, there are a lot of things. Like you can go all day mentioning those needs, but I will talk about unemployment need and transportation. So to start with the transportation, uh, people have been, especially this year, people have been like from the community that I work with, they go from Des Moines to different counties, different cities to work. So they are going from one county to another county. So with the COVID, once the COVID hits, the transportation have been one of the major problems because the driver is using his own car and then providing a transportation for 5 or 6 or 12 other members or like fellow co-workers. So once the regulation is in place that you have to keep your 6 feet, the driver tells them, hey, I can't give you a ride now because of COVID, especially when first hits and people don't have rides. Some of them are really new, like, and they don't have driver's license. Some of them they just got their permit. So they have to either hit the road or quit that job and find something in the city. In order to do that, you have to have, especially in a city, the jobs are more like, they need more skills. You have to have kind of an educational background. And that leads, once they quit it, if they can't do it, they have to quit it. And then some of them are, they don't have a daycares. Daycare is one of the major issues as well. um Housing, that leads to housing, because once you quit the job, you don't have other option, and then you have to stay home. And then if you stay home, you don't have another way of income, and that leads to evacuation, like you have to leave your house. That leads to homelessness. So those are the major ones. Especially if they can't do all those, they have to apply for unemployment. And then, as I said earlier, unemployment still is one of the biggest needs, because if you talk to IWD worker, and then I think we have a success story that I might share later about this. If you look into it from IWD, they have been helping thousands of people because people know how to apply and then how to do it. But when you come to refugees, they can't do it. And then the phone services, they can't do it themselves. And they have been, we try to help, and then we hold online for like an hour and 2 hours to get hold of somebody to answer our questions. So this is really one of the hardest thing. I think I'm just going to leave the rest for my friends to share.
Thank you so much, Zach. Ines, would you be able to go next?
Yeah, thank you, Zach, for mentioning most of the things that I was thinking to share. It is, yes, it is the safety. Safety is number one. So one of the biggest gaps is number one, safety of a workplace. Where do people work? Is it safe? Are there still infected people working over there? Then removing the barriers to employment, which would apply what Zach mentioned, childcare. It's not just childcare, it's safe childcare. How is it safe over there to leave your children with someone that you're not sure is COVID-free? Then safe transportation, even if they work in the city, they need to use the bus, and how safe is that? So there are a lot of barriers to employment right now that needs to be still worked on. And we still also need advocacy for our refugee candidates and refugee workers. Lots of times not all employers understand that the workers would, even if they speak English, they might not understand what is being said and what the rules are and what the safety precautions are, and how to handle it. So there is not just language barrier, there is also a cultural barrier. Yeah, that's for me.
Thank you, Ines. Boaz, would you be able to share next? Boaz, I lost your video, but are you still able to unmute? we'll come back to Boaz. I know he may have been having some internet issues. Daniel, would you mind going next?
Sure. I mean, I think on this one, I'm not sure I have much to add. It's more helpful for me to listen to you all and what you're experiencing. But yeah, everything that you're describing. I mean, I think what's most impactful about what you were just saying is just the fact that all of these things are connected. That it's a chain reaction from employment to transportation to childcare to housing, and how some of the things that used to be the norm, like carpooling together, how something like social distancing can make that all fall apart. And so, I'm really just struck by all of that, and concerned, and also in awe of you guys as you continue to help clients figure out new ways to navigate that.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Okay. Boaz, I want to come back to you to see if you've been able to get unmute to work, or if you're still having internet issues. Okay. And we had a comment come in too from Jill that she has families that struggle not only with language barrier, but with everyone wearing masks. It's difficult to read lips and facial expressions. That's another good point. All right, we're gonna go, Boaz, if you let me know, if you wanna let us know if you're able to resolve the internet issue, we'll go on to the next question and we can come back for your response to this and next one. So the next question is how has your agency been able to adapt to the increased tech needs in both the application, interview, and everything that goes into employment? So, and if this applies to other, if there are other items here too that you're really wanting, or points that you're wanting to press out to our audience too that extend beyond tech. If there are other adaptations or changes that you're wanting to mention, feel free to as well. But Zach, would you want to go first?
Sure. At Embark, as I am leading the Work Ready Navigator Refugee and Immigrant Rights Program, or in general rights program. Number one, we call our staff our the people that we're working with us not just translators but navigators. I just wanted to emphasize that one first, between the difference between translators and the navigators. Translators translate what they have been told, either at hospitals, at workplace, or all the places. But navigators, they're like kind of advocates, understand the problem, and then if the client is not getting it, you just don't translate what the client say, but make it a meaningful, so that way they can understand one another. So starting with that, we work as a bridge between, as I said in the intro, between the community and their resources. Let's talk about, there is technology, as you said, I'll come back to that, a language barrier, and then cultural differences, right? I just wanted to share one example that connects all of them. Number one, I have a friend. When I first came, I went through the problems. I had a friend, and this friend we connected him, and then he found a job at McDonald's, which is very simple and an easy job compared to what he used to do back home, right? So this client is working, and then he loved it because it is easy, it is inside the room, and then it is just not much like to carry stuff. So he was excited about it, and because he's going to provide some food to put some food on the table for his family. So while he's working, the supervisor saw him working very hard and then excited, and then like he loved the job. So she was like, wow, you're really hard worker. I like the way you do. And then she asked him if he likes the food. And then he said, yes, I love the food. And he said, I wanted to eat more, and then I want to be fat like you. Now, the supervisor asked him again to understand if he meant it, because if you ask somebody 2 3 times to make sure, does he mean it, or is he going to be sorry about that? So she asked him 3 times. He repeated the same thing 3 times. I want to eat more, and then I want to be fat like you. She fired him on the spot, because based on what you understand and what he was saying, there is a gap, there is misunderstanding, there is cultural differences. In America, maybe if you call someone that, it is totally insulting or like something different. But from his experience, from where he came from, when he saw someone bigger, he think of like, oh, he had a lot of food to eat. He is wealthy. He's never starved. I mean, he has been eating. So for me, I've never get to that position where I am like I have enough food, because some people starve on daily basis. Some people eat once a day, so they can't be like that big. So it is for him was like opportunity to eat more and then gain. So there is misunderstanding. So that caused to have like fired from the job. So I wanted to say it is not only finding a job is hard, but keeping it is also hard. It is not the refugees that didn't know the resources didn't know the refugees and immigrants as well. So there is a misunderstanding among. So our job has been to be the bridge between them, and then help the employers to understand the cultural differences. Even shaking hand, if I'm working, I give you my arm and then you have to hold me here. That is culturally appropriate for us. But for you, it might be like, why is he just giving me his arm thing? There is a lot of things if we keep going and going on. So we have been the bridge to help them understand one another. With the technologies, we do our best, especially, you have a computer and then you don't understand the computer. So in order for you to understand, maybe speaking on your own language, finding someone who speaks the client's language. At Embark, we have like 12, more than 12, 30 some different languages. So connecting them someone who can translate directly and then help them walk them through. What is he saying? Even if they can't speak up, we find someone at the house or maybe a student who is not really understanding what the meaning of the sentence are, but at least they read to us and then we translate it and then help them so that way they get the jobs. That is how we have been bridging between resources and then our clients.
Thank you very much, Zach. Ines, can you go next?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with Zach pretty much. Everything he pretty well explained. I just want to mention that in talking about this increased tech needs on online application interview process, that ever since the COVID started, I found myself being like a help desk for refugees, doing the online application, like what it would take me 15 minutes to fill out by hand. Now it can take up to 2 hours doing it step by step online. Sometimes some more educated clients are able to get online and do it themselves, but still we would be on the phone assisting them, understanding all the questions. But if they don't, if they're not tech savvy or can't read and write, we are the ones who are actually filling out the whole applications and everything online. Also, to explain how we are a help desk, a lot of times I advise my clients, as soon as they receive the letter that they don't understand, they would take a picture of the letter and text it to me, or if they have email address, they will send me an email. So that really was helpful for me, that overcome the distance, of not being able to see them. So yeah, we're trying our best, and it takes a lot of time to assist clients with online process. And everybody who is doing it can understand what I'm talking about. It's like whatever used to take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, now it's taking hours and hours. But we are able to complete the process and assist the clients and make sure that they get the services they need and employment they need.
Thank you very much, Ines. Hey, Boaz, I see your video is back up. I was hoping actually to throw you on the spot and see if you wouldn't mind answering the last question and this question. The last question, I don't know if you had internet issues and had heard, but we had just talked about previously what do we see as like the biggest needs now here, December 2020? What do you see as the biggest needs for community members and families and clients that you're working with? And then how can our service providers and community partners, how can they help? Boaz, you're
All right.
muted.
Yep.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I was muted. Yeah, sorry, I had to step out a little bit for. I'm working on at one of our tutoring centers. We have a lot of kids who, we're supporting a lot of kids with online learning, and so that's where I am right now. And I just had a kid that needed something, and nobody was available to help that kid. So that's why I stepped out a little bit. But so for the needs that we have right now, I mean, with my community or the people that I work with, there's a need for unemployment. I don't know if my fellow, my friends talked about that, but there is a great need for unemployment because we still have a lot of families, individuals who can't get unemployment because they chose to not to go to work because of the current COVID situation that we are all facing, and because as a result, the businesses or companies are not willing to work with the people to make sure that they get unemployment. So there's a big need for that, and also our organization, we are primarily focused on transportation because we understand that transportation it's a very big challenge that our people face. So when you talk about employment and transportation, those are two things that go together. And we've had a big need for transportation because people were carpooling to go to work, but now it's not the case. A lot of drivers are not willing to put 10 or 12 or 15 people in a van to go to work because they're very worried about the spread of COVID. So we also have a very big need for transportation. We've been transporting people to work back and forth pretty much every day, and it's hard for the people. So there's need for transportation in the refugees and immigrants population, especially in these COVID seasons. So that's what I can say for the last question. As an organization, we continue to see our people facing.
Thanks, Boaz. And then, what we were talking about just now was talking about the changes in technology in particular, or other areas too, like any of the major, if you've seen like major adaptations that you've had to make as an agency. But yeah, so how has iCoach and how have you been able to adapt to the increased tech needs, like you're talking about helping? How many kids do you have there today?
We have 32 today.
32 kids access online school. Yeah. Yeah. So how have you guys been able to manage having to incorporate so much more technological needs into your work?
Yeah, so obviously, if you came here as a refugee, you truly understand what this really is and what it means to a lot of these families. I always tell people that, when I talk about my community, I mean, when we come here, we're not tech savvy. I mean, we don't have the technology that, the American people have. So every time we have a new family here, I mean, we immediately think about, how they're going to adjust with the electronic stuff that, emails, telephone, computers, all of that. So COVID made it even harder. Number one, I will start by saying that a lot of the people that we serve didn't have Wi-Fi or internet at home. Some families can afford to buy a Wi-Fi, so they just stay home and don't worry about having internet at home. So that was the first thing that as an agency we had to deal with. We dealt with people who didn't have internet at home, and we made sure that they can access internet elsewhere. If it's to transport them to the library to get access to the internet, or if is to bring them to our sites to make sure that they can access internet. Believe or not, we have people who come to see us every day looking just for internet. Can I, go online? Can I use your Wi-Fi? Can I do this on your Wi-Fi? So that was our biggest challenge when we talked about technology. But then also then we talk about people who can use a computer. They don't know how to use a computer. They don't know how they can help their kids. They don't know how they can make a job application online. So we had to do all of that. I mean, we understand, we know these issues. I've lived through this. I know exactly what it takes to go from point A to point B. So that's why we try to do everything we can. That's what I said. Our organization, we do everything. I mean, I can't tell you what we don't do it. I mean, we just, because when people come to see us, we don't know what they have on their table, or we don't know what services they're looking for. And then when we welcome them, they tell us, different things. I want this, I want that, I want that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Uh, and your question about technology, we're doing all of it. We are providing access to internet, making sure that people have Wi-Fi access. We have 3 locations that we are helping people with that. We are also making sure that people are able to do an online application, and we're also helping their kids. I mean, parents are working, kids are home alone. Nobody is home to help them with, Zoom or Google Meet or Google Doc, whatever. So we're doing all of it.
Thanks, Boaz. And so Daniel, to you then too, yeah, what are, how has Switchboard, been able to help with or respond to this increase in tech and technology needs, digital literacy needs, internet access needs? What have you seen on the national level?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our best, like all of you, to kind of pivot to this situation. But in the past year, I think we've published like 26 blog posts, and 21 of those were specifically related to COVID somehow, and a number of them were related to digital literacy. I'm going to share one just as an example in the chat, a post on remote job readiness resources for clients with lower levels of digital literacy that might be helpful. Some of these things you're probably already doing or already aware of. And this was a follow-up post actually to another one that we had done on job readiness for clients with online access. But we felt it was important to not only provide tips and resources that could be used with clients who were more tech savvy, but also provide some ideas for, just recognizing the reality that a lot of clients do have lower levels of digital literacy as well. Although I will say we've gotten a lot of feedback. Like I have a quote here from, I'm not exactly sure where it's from, but I ran a bunch of data from some webinars and also a community of practice that we have. But one of the quotes I have here says, many clients have adapted surprisingly well to using digital platforms. We've been able to reach more women who would otherwise face more obstacles to accessing service in the office. And we've been able to leverage the network's language resources to provide remote classes for clients. And so maybe like some language specific classes and yeah, and so also people are really taking advantage. Organizations, I should say, are really taking advantage of things that clients are comfortable with, like text messaging and WhatsApp. I've heard WhatsApp being used like from everybody, I feel like, and so that's part of it too, is figuring out, one, how can we help clients move forward with the things with the competencies that maybe they do need to build, but also what do they know how to do, and how can we leverage those things. So I don't know if that answered the question, but yeah.
It does. And thank you for the additional resource and for the reminder about WhatsApp, because yeah, that's definitely been, I feel like maybe an out of the box way of thinking for some, as a great way to reach people over the past year. So I know that we've been talking a lot about challenges that we've been facing, but I really wanted to include an opportunity to talk about the successes and the work and the accomplishments that these organizations have. I mean, like the just flat out miracles, right, that they've performed in terms of what they've been able to do to help people over the past year. And really, I think that's maybe where some of our best tools and resources, for us to take back to our jobs can really come from too. So Zach, I know you have a few things that you've done over the past 9 months. That's me, sorry, being very sarcastic. Zach's been working like nonstop, I think, all day, every day for 10 months. But would you be able to share some successes that you have found, both in your regular role, but also, for Embark as a whole as well?
Yeah, I think with this pandemic, sometimes you got to be flexible. And I think this is the time that we need to share with a smile and share our successes. So I'm just going to mention all the titles first and then maybe explain or go in detail with two, if that is okay with you, Stephanie. So number one, the success that I can count is like helping IWD change their phone system and then their web and update their web and hire 100 people. That is one of it, and then I'll come back to the story later. And news in different 12 different native languages, because as you know, with the COVID and all this, people need information first, information, understanding, and then you apply it. So in order to apply it, or in order to understand everything, they need information. So based on that, we start with information, translating the news that we are hearing, the updates that people are sending or companies are sending in their native languages. So I myself personally, I speak Kunama, Tigrinya, and Amharic. So I start translating to Kunama and then doing it in English and then some other languages too. So total of 12. So people get more information. For example, if there is a hiring event, if there is a resource that is that community need, is like with those, we have been doing a news, delivering food to different families who don't have a car, or with the families whose schedule is different than their kids. So that way we pick it from the school or from different resources and then deliver it to the families. Uh, Above all, what makes me happy is recruiting. Our job at Embark is train the trainer is our mission. So recruit community members who are interested to serve and then train them to understand the situation. So that way, the more people you train, the more people you recruit and help, the more the community gets help. So that is one of those as well. And then as Daniel mentioned with the WhatsApp, helping ESL students to gain more work ready job skills, and then they have utilized it and help other people. For example, people come to us and then to help with understanding their paycheck, right? So once you hire, I came as a refugee, and I have a fear. I don't want to approach to my employer showing that I don't understand, telling him that I am not following what the information you are giving. So in order to be successful, in order to stay the job, in my mind, when I first came, I always don't wanted to approach to my supervisors. I wanted to approach to some of my friends or someone who I trust to help me with. So a lot of people, uh, I am working here at Embark because I came through the process, right? I have seen it. So a lot of people came to us to help them understand their paycheck, to help them apply uh, or no request a off day online with those companies who are going paperless. So they came to us, we help them, and then they get what they needed. But on the way, we help them to understand and then approach, because you have right to ask. We don't just help them and then let them go. We make sure they understand, hey, they're supervisor. If you say something you don't understand the training or the orientation or anything, then they can help you. We always help with that. So the more people we help, the more starting approach to their supervisors and their workplace. So that has been a success for me. Oh, should I a little bit about IWD, how they hired and how we helped, in case I just don't want it to say like we helped IWD hire 100 people and then change their website and stuff if needed. Uh,
Yeah, you're welcome to expand on that, Zach. That's fine.
Yeah. So with as we all see, the unemployment has been a challenge. So when I first personally help, it's like 24/7. Sometimes you're on phone helping a client and then wanted to get hold of IWD, but their phone system is, I think, old system, and then we were not able to get hold of them within 1 hour or 2 hour. So we waited 2, 3 hours, and then you're wasting hours on this. And instead of doing some other different things, you just hold. And then the phone system was simply nothing. There is no song, there is no information. You don't know if you're on hold or not. But we experienced it and we knew that we are on hold, so we keep waiting. Finally, we approached it with Amos, with the thanks to Amos, with help of Amos. We approached Amos, and then I have been meeting with them, so I shared the problems that I am seeing. So when we sit together, we bring all the information we have, we digested, we reached out to Director Townsend from IWD, and then of course she has thousands and thousands of cases that she is helping, so she feels like she is doing great. So one example is, if two people standing facing one another, and if you put the number 6 in between them, they will never come to agreement, right? The other one will say 9, the other one will say 6. So Townsend is helping thousands of people, and then she is saying this is number 9, and then we are seeing that we are having hard time reaching out to her, or we are having hard time to help them with unemployment. So we are saying 6. So what we did is, with help of Amos, we called her, we shared our stories so that we will help her to see from our side, not just from their side as well. So once she see that, first she said like we're fine, and then we do again the second one with the press conference, and then like another 100 people, elected officials were involved. So Amos was leading, and we brought, and finally she agrees, and then they changed their website, they changed their phoning system, they hired another 100 people because that was short, and then after they hire 100 people, it was easy for accessing for us. So if we didn't start advocating or bring the problem, if Amos wasn't pushing for further change, I think this change would not come. So I think that was really a success for us.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you very much, Zach. And if for anybody, like, as we're kind of talking about these things, I think that there are a lot of people in our audience too that might want to review some of this information, or might want to connect with our speakers. outside of this panel, or might want more information about ideas or ways that they could maybe apply some of this work to their organizations. And just a reminder that we're always happy to connect with our panel, or happy to connect with our panelists after the webinar today as well. Enos, would you mind going second on that, just talking about some of your biggest successes?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, even though we are kind of with unemployment rate of our clients, which would be the clients that are participating mostly in promised jobs, and we have at this point, we have a low unemployment rate. We went through the wave of a lot higher unemployment rate, but we were able to place people at jobs. On the way, as maybe some of you are familiar, we do provide limited transportation services for newly arrived refugees. We had to totally revamp our services, and we are really proud of that we had to revamp the way people are accessing this van, the way how we set up our routes, how we deal with all these COVID related issues. But yeah, I'm very proud of how we revamped the service, and now we're able to provide transportation services for the newly arrived refugees in need. I'm also very proud how we had COVID relief delivered to communities statewide. So we didn't work only for refugees here in Des Moines, but around the whole state of Iowa. And we also supported the COVID hotline through RASI. And yeah, these are some of the things that I'm really proud of.
Thanks, Enos. Boaz, would you mind going next to share some of your successes with the iCoach?
Sure. So, we've had many successes, and our number one success is that I know Zach talked about, how people that we serve, work long hours, and they work from long distances. So we had a lot of families who needed to go to work, and with the current COVID situation, a lot of people were afraid to lose their jobs if they didn't go to work and stay home to watch their kids. And honestly, they also needed to go to work so they can support their kids. So our organization really stood up and helped those families. We were able to help over 100 kids with online learning, so that their parents can go to work. We did not want any parent to miss work because they have to stay home and watch kids because we know a lot of schools are online or hybrid, or it really depends on the school district. But that's a big success that as an organization we feel very happy about, that we managed to help kids so that their parents can go to work. Our second success is that we were able to provide transportation to those who didn't have transportation to go to work because the driver was not willing to put 10 or 15 people in a van to go to work. So we had to step up and help individuals make to work, and also pick them up from work if needed. So that's a success that we feel very happy about. And also we were able to provide technology trainings for parents or adults, people who didn't know how to apply for a job online. With the help from Polk County, they provided computers to us, and we were able to teach adults how to search for a job online, how to apply for a job online, and how to create a resume for the job. So that's a really good thing. Very excited and very proud of that we were able to accomplish during these difficult times.
Thank you very much, Boaz. Daniel, and I know that this question might look a little differently for you.
I have one more.
Oh yeah, Boaz, go ahead.
It's sorry, it's not maybe it's not employment related, but we also we were able to help people who got affected with the Rachel storm. A lot of people, a lot of agencies and organizations had funds available to help people who got affected, and we were able to connect those families with those organizations that was helping them with their losses during the storm.
Thanks, Boaz. Yeah, Daniel, I was thinking that this question might look a little different for you. But I was wondering if there are specific things that you would want to share from Switchboard as an organization. Wonderful. But I also was wondering if there were any particular successful kind of models or other circumstances that have happened over the past 10 months that you have found to be big successes for you, for your organization, or just again, kind of like those national trends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this is exactly answering your question, but I think I just want to congratulate you guys for putting on an event like this and sort of convening people even virtually. One of the things that we've done this past year with Switchboard is launch a economic empowerment community of practice that it has members from service provider members from all over the country, and that's something we do remotely on Zoom. And I think that the opportunity for service providers to come together and compare notes and talk about challenges and stuff like that is really valuable. And so yeah, it's great that you all are doing that in Iowa. And if anybody wants more information about the community practice, feel free to reach out to me. In terms of models, I might need a more specific question to get something to pop in my mind. But a couple other things that I was trying to figure out, how do I answer a question like this? And other than the community of practice, the other two things popped in my mind. One is not COVID specific, but we did produce a new e-learning module this year called Introduction to Strengths-Based Employment Services. And that might be something that is more geared towards newer staff, but it's also just, I think, good for all of us to think about shifting from more transactional ways of doing our work to kind of like, you come to me for help and I tell you what to do and where you should go and where you should work and all that, to finding ways to work more collaboratively with our clients and really engage them and give them information and give them options, but really leverage their strengths and their interests and uncover those things. And so I'm excited. There's not too many people that are super excited about doing an LMS module, and we understand that, but I'm hopeful that will be a useful resource. And then the last thing was just what I mentioned a few minutes ago about the webinar and a couple blog posts, and I'll put that link in here about the document delays. And you can access the 2 blog posts, as well as there's a link to the webinar here as well regarding our Refugees and Asylees Have the Right to Work series. And I'm proud of that. More as a hope. It's this is something I hope will happen, but there's a lot of confusion about if a client doesn't have a social security card, for example, can they actually start working? And both service providers as well as employers have been very confused about that. And so I'm hopeful that kind of getting some clarity on that, including from the Department of Justice itself, can really have some clients who are sitting around not working right now actually be able to get to work, even if they're still waiting on a social security card or other document. Hope that wasn't too long-winded, sorry.
No, that's good. That's great information to share. Thank you very much, Daniel. All right, so the last thing that we wanted to kind of talk about before we open it up to a question and answer session is, so we wanted to talk about moving forward, really, what are some things that we can think about for our future? And I think that this is a really good opportunity for all of us on this call and anyone watching later to really kind of start thinking about this, not just COVID recovery as we enter into this kind of next phase of people starting to see vaccinations come out and kind of think about post-COVID, next steps with employment, but also with this, with the new administration coming in January, if our ceiling were to increase and we end up getting more arrivals next year, not just because of the increased number. I think the Biden-Harris administration had recently announced that they hope to increase that to 175,000. But knowing that would probably take some time, but also we saw a huge slowdown of resettlement numbers last year because of the moratoriums on travel with COVID. So as we see arrivals increasing, and I mean, I know that we can all kind of imagine our resettlement agencies lost staff with the massive decrease in numbers of resettlement over the past year, but as we have an increase of resettlement happening again in 2021, what can we do to start thinking about that now? What can we do to prepare for that now, as well as this kind of post-COVID next phase? What are things that we can talk about sharing with our community partners today to help us kind of all prepare for those next steps? So Zach, the last time I throw you on the spot, I hope, at least for today, but would you mind going first and sharing some of your thoughts or ideas about those questions?
Sure. I'm just going to say that based on our experiences or based on what we have shared already, uh, if you are a company owner or if you are someone who employs from refugees and immigrants, for those who are coming or for those who are here, think about just equal opportunity for all. What I mean is that we hear that companies most of the time say like, hey, we want to have diversity, especially Iowa. Hey, we care about refugees and immigrants, and then we like to hire diversity in our company. So you can hear that, but at the same time, you can hear that they're going with the technology and then going paperless. So how are you going to include them? Most of the time when you go paperless and with the technology, the refugee community are like in a base. They're just arriving to the country. Some of them, Stephanie, as you said, they're just coming by now. So when you exclude them, then you want them to be in the process, it is really you're making it hard on them. So how can we work so that way it can be equal? There are, for example, from my experience, the reason why I work with Embark is because I wanted to be the bridge. I wanted to connect those people. So work with those companies or organizations like at here in Des Moines at Embark, we are here too. Work with us too, so that way, we can help them understand. And then with that is, if companies and then organizations stop translating and the orientations and anything instead of translating to have cultural appropriate training. So when you translate, sometimes they just basically, it might not make sense a lot of time. Because Ines or anyone who is in the field of translating can tell, because when you translate, it is totally harder. So when you do the training cultural appropriate, I think that will make more sense for companies or for the communities too. So for them, they can save their money, and then for the people, they can keep their jobs. They don't have to bring someone and doesn't understand and goes away. You hire somebody else. For you too, you're not saving money at the same time. For me too, I am not having my clients keep their job. But if it is culturally appropriate, I just wanted to share example. If it's not, if that is not too long, there are companies that I personally worked with that I translated the orientation, and I don't have enough time to translate. Number one, the orientation, if it is going to be 8 hours, they're going to pay for 8 hours. I understand. But at the same time, they put all of them together, native English speakers and then other language speakers. And then I am sitting as a Kunama interpreter. They are sitting as a Tigrinya, Spanish, and then all that. We are in the same room. Imagine the person, the HR person, once they say something, I'm going to start translating it in Kunama, and the other one is going to do the same thing. So blah, 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 in the same room. So they might not understand. One. Number two, they were not giving us enough time. So if you don't give me enough time, what I'm going to do is jump in the middle while you are while you are teaching or giving the training. When I jump in, the native English speaker next to me is going to be bothered, and then they're like, shh, hey, be quiet. I can't hear. I can't understand. Stop it. I'm like, they might think I am someone who is in there in a training and then not caring about what the trainer is saying and then just, blah, blah, blah. I am there doing a job, helping the company to help the clients understand. So I don't have enough time, right? That doesn't make sense. So those are the problems that cause later on for the employees to quit their job because they don't understand at the beginning. If you don't understand in the first place, it is hard to follow up later. Sometimes I'll let them say whatever they say in orientation anyway. I will follow my friends and then I will get it later thing. So if we to avoid this, we have to have culturally appropriate trainings, maybe separate another rooms. If you work with agencies, I think that can be another solution if we can think about for the next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zach. And yeah, so something that we had hoped to offer in the new year in January is one of our next webinars that we'll be offering. We're going to be having some employers from different sectors and different company sizes too, talk about some of the successful models and practices that they've put into place. That has really led them to become champions of hiring refugee and immigrant communities. So those practices, Zach, those kind of small adaptations that might not be thought of for things like orientation, but that can have a huge effect later. We'd really like to share a lot more of those during that session. So if anyone's interested in learning more about that, as soon as we have speakers and everything confirmed, because I think we all know that things change so rapidly right now. But as soon as we have more information and our panelists confirmed for that event in January, we'll get that out as soon as possible. Thank you again, Zach. Ines, could I jump to you to have you talk about some of those, just some of those thought processes for our future next steps?
Yes. Again, I support everything Zach said. We are facing the same things. And if you're an employer and you're listening, I really would like you to hear that there is a lot of qualities that refugees are bringing. English is not the biggest quality for one employee, and it can be overcome by utilizing agencies like Embark, LSI, USCRI. We can help Catholic Charity. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. It's just so much that can be supported so employer can keep the refugee worker. Level of English changes. remember how fast these refugees are learning. It's amazing. I mean, you can just imagine yourself finding yourself in the middle of war, trying to escape the country, going through the process of qualifying for refugee status in the United States. It's like a year's process, hooping through so many loops, you know, and it's just an amazing thing if you can step back and see where the other qualities are. Especially this high school diploma requirement. I always want you to ask yourself, what are the actual qualities that you're looking for when you're asking for that? Would you accept a high school diploma from different country? What are you looking at? Level of understanding, level of knowing math skills that they probably have, and you know, even though they don't speak English, that they know how important it is to come to work on time and keep the job. These are all the qualities that refugees can have, even though they don't speak perfect English. I mean, that is not the first thing on the list you should be looking at. So yeah, this is one of the things. I can talk for a long time about it. I'm very passionate of trying to explain employers, you know, how to handle refugee new employees. And I'm sure the Boaz and Zach can have this very similar experience.
Thanks, Ines. Boaz, could you share next about just some of those, again, thinking down the line over the next few months and year, just things that, some additional points that you may want to share?
I think they covered all. I mean, I'll just say, give us a chance. Give us a chance, and you know, learn with us, work with us, and we'll do good. We'll try our best, and we'll help your company grow. That's for sure.
Thanks, Boaz. All right, Daniel, would you want to share next?
Sure, and I'll keep this brief so we can get to any Q&A that there is. But yeah, I mean, I think my thought looking forward is pretty simple, and it's similar to you know, for anyone who does job development, you know, there's a couple months in the year that are like pretty dead, like December and January. A lot of times, like not much happens with employers, but it's my personal opinion that that's actually a great time to do job development and reach out to employers, because you want to be on the top of their mind when March, April, May, June rolls around, when they are hiring. And so using that as an opportunity. And so I think the situation's a little bit similar in that, you know, employers may not be hiring right now. Of course, some Amazons and others are hiring quite a bit, but I think this is an opportunity for us to expand our employer base, to recognize that we're possibly facing a great problem to have, which is increased refugee arrivals, but possibly a struggling economy, and to really put in some hard work now to build some relationships with employers. And maybe because everybody's used to Zoom now, maybe employers are a little more accessible. Maybe you can not worry about getting past the front desk, and you can find a way to get the decision maker's email and say, hey, could we have a 20-minute Zoom call? You know, so yeah, that would just be my encouragement is, you know, don't think that there's nothing you can do in job development right now. You know, really do as much as you can, because I think that when things start to recover and bounce back, you know, there's going to be a lot of competition.
That's a good point. Thank you very much, Daniel. Yeah, we can't stress enough how we're very hopeful that we have a lot of prospective and future employers on that next panel, because I mean, the companies that have historically hired a lot of our refugee and immigrant communities, I think you know, can't say enough just you know, what amazing employees that they have. And there's so many infinite reasons why employers should take chances on refugees and former refugees and immigrant communities. So thank you very much, everybody. We're gonna actually kind of just change gears a little bit here and kind of jump into question and answer session. I know that there had been some individuals who had hands up prior. But yeah, so this time can really, any question, kind of anything that we had, touched on before, and this can, be for any of our panelists, but anyone is welcome to unmute. And if for any reason you're unable to unmute, which if you're having technical issues like I had earlier today, you're always welcome to write into the chat as well. But we'll leave this next few minutes for some questions from our participants. Sarah, we had a question about how they can contact panelists directly. After this session, if you email me, I'm happy to forward your email on to our panelists directly. Thanks, Daniel. Daniel actually wrote his email into the chat. If you're unable to access the chat and have a pen and paper handy, it's dwilkinson@lirs.org, and that's dwilkinson@lirs.org. Others can share their email here, or again, you're always welcome to email directly. And if we get permission from everyone, we can actually include the emails into the website where you went to register on the Rossi website. That is where we will include the link for the recording of this as well. And Zach is ZACK@embarkiowa.org. Yeah, Mohammed, go ahead. Can you unmute?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody. I am very pleased to attend this webinar, and I learned a lot. I want to just throw light on something about refugee, and because I am immigrant also, and I am new in my name is Muhammad Al Sayed Sulaiman. I am a graduate from Iowa State University 40 years ago, but I came back now first year in Iowa. I worked as a preschool teacher and then a Lyft driver. So, and now I don't know, maybe I will go back to work as Uber or something like that. Whatever. I used to be a teacher and translator a long time ago. Anyway, my perception about dealing with being a refugee or being an immigrant, especially Syrian, and now, so I also forgot to introduce myself as Vice President of the Syrian American community in Iowa, which is very newly established. While listening to the speaker now, my mind went to receiver and giver perception. The first year I came to Iowa, last year, I noticed that, for example, Zion Church used to help the refugees. I asked the Syrian refugee, what did you do to the church? Have you done anything to do in exchange of their help? They were embarrassed, they didn't know what. So I took initiative to went to the church and I said, look, I am not clever. I'm not, I can only, if you need sometimes translation, free translation, but I will be happy to volunteer for that. What my point is that even when Zach talked about transportation problem or people working online from the remote and they don't find a job, etc. Anybody, I don't know if they have thought about asking those refugees or immigrants who are newcomers, what are they good at giving? In exchange of somebody gives them other service. Maybe a woman can cook something good. Maybe other person can fix something in the house. Maybe other person can give free ride. So people, whatever good things they can give, they will feel, I think so, I don't know in their culture, but in our culture, dignity is very important. I will feel very dignity if I feel that I give something to the person who helped me. This gives me, I mean, very pleasant feeling. I assume many people will feel the same. So receiving and giving, I think this is a good approach. I would recommend it in dealing with refugees by collecting data from them. This family can do this, that family, they have something to give, and the other one like this, and then we can exchange with that, making this. So people feel pride, feel good, and also benefit from each other during this. Now talking about remote job, I remember Indira Gandhi when first time the robot was invented. The robot company, German robot company, went to Indira Gandhi when she was a prime minister. They wanted to market their robot. She asked them, "What will the robot do?" They told her, "Oh, it will help reduce manpower." She said, "No, I want something to give job to the people here who cannot, not to reduce the manpower." And that was really interesting to so just think about receiving and giving, letting people, give them chance to give whatever simple thing. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you for everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Mohammed. Yeah, that's, I think that making sure that Enos and I were talking about this the other day, making sure that we're taking people's interests and previous experience and their passions into consideration in employment services, and the dignity behind that too is so important. Enos had shared her email address as well. That's IP as in Peter, E as in elephant, cuvc@dhs.state.ia.us. And I do know there are a couple people on here who don't have access to chat. So I don't mean to read email addresses off for you all, but I do want to make sure that they get those. Okay, any other questions from our audience before we wrap this up?
Can I say something to Mohammed's comment?
Yeah, of course.
That is good one, Mohammed. Thank you very much for saying that. But at the same time, I just wanted to say that, especially from my experience, I am only saying at Embark because I work at Embark, and then that is my experience. So we have job coaching and then job placement. So in job coaching, as you said, if they are new, of course, we have to introduce them. For example, there is different companies. Let's say Tyson. I know about Tyson, and then what the client needs to work at Tyson. So in job coaching, we help them, walk them through, hey, this is what you're going to do. This is what the job is like. So you kind of give them information, and then you ask questions what they can do better. Once they give us, that's how we call the companies or help them sometimes, and then say, hey, this person's quality is on this, they can work on this and that. So there is, we have like ongoing, and then I really wanted to say thank you for saying, so it is like job coaching and job placement. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Zach.
I can just add a few words to that one. Our job, like at the Bureau, at Embark, and all these agencies, is not just to get the job for refugees. Our job is also to make sure they keep the job. So we want to make sure that we match the right candidate with the right job. So in my line of job, I spend a lot of time investigating what are the interests of people, what did they do before, did they liked what they were doing before, where their interests are, what makes them happy, is there a job they would do for free, wouldn't even ask for pay, what are they excited about? So that's how we come up with finding the right job for the right candidate. It is very, very important. It is not in our interests just to place people at work and then make them lose the job because they don't understand, they're not capable of doing it, or they don't like it. I mean, nobody wants to do the job they hate, you know? So yeah, I just wanted to add these few words too. what Zach was talking about.
Thanks, Enos. Okay, everybody, we hit, it's exactly 2:30. So I know Daniel had some additional resources that he had to share as well. And we will make sure to, if that's okay, Daniel, if we can make sure to just include like links to that.
Yeah, I think I can, I have, just a small slide deck just introducing Switchboard and highlighting some resources and letting you know how you can access different things.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share that. We can do that after the fact. I don't need to go through it here.
Okay. And yeah, if anybody, a lot of our information that we've shared, so the Rossi newsletter that goes out every week, a lot of the information we've shared over the past year has come from Switchboard. I know a lot of our major service providers that do work with refugees and immigrants regularly know of Switchboard, but there are tons of resources that are available through their website, through their organization. A lot of them are free, and they're there for lots of different support services and resources.
Yeah, and feel free to contact me directly, or I'll just type in our website here.
Okay.
But we really want to be a resource to you all. So just feel free, like we want to be accessible to you and help you in ways we can and learn from you in ways that we can. A lot of what we do is we learn what the great work is that people are doing, what's working for you all. And then we have the platform to amplify that out to other places in the country. So let's collaborate together. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Daniel. And that's www.switchboardT as in Thomas, A as in Apple.org. All right, well, everyone, yeah, we if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and end here. But just a reminder that resources shared, contacts, and the recording of this webinar itself will be available on the Rossi website as soon as we are able to get that up. So give us a few days and we'll get that up there. Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you, Ina. Thank you, Boaz. Thank you, Daniel, so much for taking the time to share your expertise and experience and knowledge with us today. We're so very grateful.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great rest of your
Thanks
December,
all.
everybody.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.